So today we're looking at the best goalkeepers you can get in FC25. There isn't a great deal of option, to be honest. I think there's a very standard option that we can go with because predominantly, unless you've got anybody from the Icon Max 88 or potentially the Hero, you're going to have a gold goalkeeper. Now, the big thing with them is who's the best, even in the Icon standards, who's the most expensive, the most efficient, and the playstyle pluses that you kind of want. When you look down the list of goalkeepers, there is not necessarily a great deal in price difference. You look at Buffon, being the newest goalkeeper, he is obviously number one. I personally would say that Van der Sar is still my number one keeper in this game. He's just tried and tested. Buffon for me is good enough, and I think he's obviously got everything you need. But I would still say Van der Sar for me is number one. Now, we have got playstyle pluses this year, which they do add a decent element, to be honest. So when we have a look at them, you've obviously got, if we can go into them somehow. How do we go into them from here? Can we go from there? No? Okay. If you need coins in FC25, Lootbar.gg has you covered. They are the cheapest trading platform on the game, 8 to 10% cheaper than any others, 8% off if you use the code JT11 at the end at checkout, plus you get 5% extra on coins. With the fastest delivery system going, used by many FC25 creators such as Zorky, Manny Plus, and even pro owners. So if you need any coins, head over to lootbar.gg, make sure JT11's in the promo code, and hopefully you enjoy. There we go. There we are. So when you look at the playstyle pluses for goalkeepers specifically, we know Ederson has got the long ball pass. That has been patched since a little bit. It still works very well, but it's definitely not as broken as we kind of expected it would have been, which it was at the very start. We've got far throw, footwork, cross-claimer, rush out, far reach, and deflector. Now, pretty much most of them have got the rush out. That seems to be a common theme with a lot of them. We see it with Courtois, we see it with Alisson, obviously we see it with Van der Sar as well. We have got deflector for Cech, we've got rush out for Dudek, we've got footwork for Casillas, and we also have got the far reach for Buffon and himself. Now, my personal preference is going to be rush out. I use it with Courtois most of the time. If we go in one-on-one, a little bit of a rush out is pretty good because it makes the defender panic. Now, Elite Division, there's not a lot you can do there. They're going to be at the top of their game. They're not going to be faked out by a rush. It will just be they'll pass around you. It is what it is. Elite Division is just, you wouldn't be here if you're on Elite Division, surely. Your goalkeeper would be set. But then you have got cross-claimer, you've got far reach, you've got far throw. A lot of them do a decent ones. Now, if I weren't necessarily going for rush out, I think far reach and deflector would necessarily be my other two. Cross-claimer, yes, but you can manually move your keeper, so it isn't necessarily that important in my opinion. And I think footwork and far throw, I'm not a fan of. Far throw would be my last one. Footwork, again, it's kind of saving with your legs. The problem with that is most of the time I don't really get shots against my legs. It's always over the top finesses. It's a power shot in the top corners. It's travellas over the top. You're not going to hit your legs in the top corner. So it kind of adds little value unless you're going one-on-one and he does manage to get down or get closer to the attacker before he manages to get the shot. Now, when we look at gold goalkeepers, I think there is still definitely some that I would consider in the top category. I think definitely Courtois and definitely Alisson. So them two for me in terms of gold goalkeepers are the best choices in my opinion. Obviously we've got a lot of golds, but I do think them two would stand above the rest. I think Ederson, with the fact that he's got the long ball pass, is still a fantastic goalie. The player star pluses didn't make any difference last year because we didn't have them, so they don't really make that much of a difference this year. The rush out is purely literally going to the ball, so it's not even anything save related, it's not anything kind of handling, diving, it is literally just running forward. So Alisson and Courtois both have that. In fact, Alisson has the deflector instead. Obviously with a long ball pass it means that he doesn't have anything anyway, whereas you could argue Alisson has the deflector. It has some impact on actually saving the ball, but it's still mainly down to just him as a goalkeeper. When it comes to the rest of the icons, then we've obviously got Buffon, we've got Casillas, we've got Cech, Schmeichel and Yashin. Now obviously with the female goalie, unfortunately, the height is going to be a massive problem here. It's why I very rarely put them in. You've got the likes of Endler, who's got quite a high rating. The problem you've got being, 5'9", at least it's slightly taller than some of the goalies. You just get lobbed. We saw the same with, was it Walker last year? He just got lobbed from everywhere. Anybody that's like 5'5" to just under 6 foot, they just get lobbed consistently. So it doesn't work. You need that goalie to be 6'4" to 6'6" at a minimum. Sometimes you can kind of go with the 6'2" goalies, like obviously Yashin's there, 92 rated, but realistically it's predominantly just the highest rated goalie on the game so far. So that normally is what keeps him at that sort of level. So unfortunately for us, she's going to be at the bottom. When we're looking at the rest of the keepers, I do think Buffon's obviously one of the top. We then have Casillas, Cech, and Schmeichel coming just under, I'd say. You'd possibly argue all of them, but I think price-wise, they aren't worth it anyway. Yashin would always be up there as well. He always is as a keeper. It's kind of standard with the goalies, and to be honest, it very rarely changes throughout any year. We normally have them as this sort of level every single year. They don't change. Now, you've got Donnarumma, great keeper, purely down to height as well. He's coming in at 6'5". Courtois 6'7" as well. And then you've kind of got the rest. Dudek and Tim Howard, both being very good options for the future, because obviously with them, they are going to be upgraded at some point. Campos isn't worth mentioning at 5'6". I don't even want to speak about him, to be honest. Dudek 6'1" and Howard 6'3". I do think Howard comes in quite good this year, but again, being the kind of lower rated at the minute, you'd argue that maybe he isn't as much. So I would go kind of like this sort of level for me. That sort of level for me. When it comes to the Roll++, this is again another new thing they've added to the game. When it comes to goalkeepers, we haven't actually got too much difference, because you've got goalkeeper, defender, goalkeeper balance, and sweeper keeper. Now, personally for me, I won't use the sweeper keeper really. I suppose it could be utilized with the rush out. It might be a decent tactic, but for me, I always just go goalkeeper balance. So having that plus might be a nice benefit, but pretty much, as you can see, most of them have something. So it's going to be not necessarily a big deal. It's when you come to these lower keepers now, they're not really having it. You got pinged pass for Neuer. I did like Martinez, to be fair. And to be fair, I think most of these goalkeepers now, they're kind of in the lower category. Like you could argue Schmeichel to Stegen being up 1, to be fair to him. He's definitely a higher rated keeper that's kind of held that almost consistency with being in the net, but I think most of the others, they are pretty much just going to be on the bog standard. They're not necessarily bad, but they are not going to really go with your team. I would always suggest when looking at a goalkeeper, you are looking at kind of just your standard Courtois. You're looking at a 30-40k keeper. I wouldn't buy any of the icons, in my opinion. At this point, I'd just wait to pack them, and you just wait for team of the year. There's very few goalies that will come out that are worth buying straight off the bat. Like 996k for Buffon, don't bother. 31k for Alisson, 31k for Courtois. They will happily get you for most of the game, to be honest. And really, any upgrades on them, if we see a potential player of the month or an informed version of one of them, might be worth looking at. But again, if it's over 300, 400, 500k, I'd just wait to pack the team of the year goalkeeper, or just wait to pack any icon from a repeatable icon pack. But that's going to be everybody. Let me know how you get on. Peace.